Welcome back to another edition of 5 Minutes to a Better Mix. We're looking at 31 mixing tips in 31 days. And of course, I'm Graham, your host from the recordingrevolution.com. Now that that's out of the way, let's take a look at how to get your kick drum to cut through the mix a little bit better. Okay, this is a common problem. You process your drums, you're mixing your kick drum, it sounds full, fat, and maybe you can hear enough of the beater head as you're mixing them, but when you add other tracks to the mix, a lot of times you can lose the kick drum in the mix. Just like yesterday we looked at the snare drum, you sometimes have to do a little finagling to get that to cut through when it needs to without reaching for your EQ to simply boost the crud out of a certain frequency. Let's find another way to bring in some more click or beater head to get your kick drum to cut through the mix at a certain section, okay? Let me give you a good example. Here is the same thick part of the mix we looked at yesterday, and at this point I'm listening to the kick drum. See what happens. Now the kick drum is there, depending what kind of speakers you're listening to. You'll hear it, feel it, but to me, it needs to be a little more punchy and clear, just like the snare does. The kick and the snare have to drive this section. So instead of just grabbing an EQ on the kick drum and boosting the upper mids to high range to get the click of the kick beater, let's use a little parallel processing technique. Take your kick drum track right next to it, create a new mono bus or aux track depending on what your DAW calls it. This will simply be a track that we can pass audio through. Give it a name like kick click or kick beater or second kick, whatever you want to call it. Then take your original kick drum track and use a send it to that same track we just created, in this case, kick click. What I'm going to do is, in essence, send a copy of the kick drum in all its processing to a separate track so I can affect it separately. I'm going to bring up the volume of this send so it is sending full volume to this other track. All right, you see two of them here. But what I want to do is make this pre-fader. I'm going to click pre here on my send to make sure that this is being sent to the kick click track before this fader, pre this fader, meaning no matter what I do to this fader, this won't be affected. So if I unsolo the kick drum track, I still get the kick drum. Now we have a copy in this track. All we have to do is two simple moves. I'm going to take an EQ. I'm just going to grab a 4-band. And I'm going to roll off a lot of the low end because I don't need it. And then I am going to use this track to boost the crud out of whatever the clicky frequency is on the kick drum, where I can hear the click the most. Now what I want to do is compress it so that it is a constant in-your-face volume. I'm going to just slam all these ratio buttons down so it's a really hard compressor. So now we have an aggressive, clicky, useless sound. But what we can do is simply bring it up in the mix parallel to this kick drum track. So I have it all the way down. I'm going to press play. You're going to hear all the drums and the guitars together. And watch as I slowly bring up this click kick drum track as it all of a sudden brings some clarity to the kick drum and it cuts it through the mix nicely. See? And now watch me flip this click on and off and you can hear what's missing and when it comes back in. And that's getting your kick drum to cut through the mix without just boosting it on your one kick drum track. You can blend it to taste all you want. Hope that helps you guys. Again, this is Graham here at therecordingrevolution.com with 5 minutes to a better mix. We'll see you tomorrow.